Picture this, you're standing in a bright supermarket aisle of modern life, hands full, cart already overflowing, and yet your eyes keep scanning for one more thing. Not because you need it, but because a quiet voice inside insists, the next item will complete the feeling you're missing. And the paradox is this, the more desperately we reach for happiness, the more it slips through our fingers, like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. Open the hand, and water rests there. Squeeze, and it runs away. We live in an age that promises happiness like a product with a guarantee. There's a button for it. Apparently, a subscription, a lifestyle, a 10 steps to joy video that appears between cat clips and workout ads. And still, if you listen closely to yourself, to friends, to strangers scrolling beside you on late-night trains, you'll hear the same hush beneath the noise. Why am I not happy yet? Or more subtly, I was happy for a moment, and then it vanished. What did I do wrong? Let me offer you a small story. A friend of mine once trained for years to get into a certain company. It was the mountain in his mind, the symbol, the proof. He told himself, when I get there, then I can finally relax. Then I'll be happy. The day he got the acceptance email, he called me breathless, almost laughing. We celebrated. A week later, we met. He looked strangely tired. I asked how it felt. He hesitated, searching for the honest word, and finally said, I'm scared it won't be enough. I already feel like I'm behind. The mountain had moved, as mountains in the mind always do. He didn't fail to reach the peak. He failed to notice the view while he was climbing. So what is happiness, really? If it cannot be pinned down by achievements or possessions, is it a possession at all? Or is it a relationship, a way of meeting the world? If happiness were a bird, we treat it like prey. We chase it through forests of goals. We set traps of expectations. We hold out shiny objects labeled success. But the bird is not lured by force. It lands only when the forest grows quiet enough to feel safe. And maybe that is the first key, the first hinge on which the door of happiness turns, not chasing it as a future prize, but learning why it keeps flying away. What inside us startles it? What hunger turns every meal into a rehearsal for the next one? What belief whispers, not now, later, after? There's an old image from the sages. The mind is a restless lake. When stirred, it reflects nothing. Clearly, we throw stones into it all day. Desires, comparisons, fears, then wonder why we cannot see peace at the bottom. But what if happiness isn't a treasure hidden somewhere else? What if it's the clarity that appears when we stop throwing stones? Hold that question gently. Don't answer it too fast. We're going to walk deeper into this forest together. And as we do, notice what happens when you stop running ahead of your own life, even for a moment. Because here's what most of us discover, sooner or later. Usually in the quiet, after getting what we wanted, the pursuit itself can become a kind of hunger that devours its own feast. We say, I want to be happy, but what we often mean is, I want to stop feeling uncomfortable. And those two aren't the same. Happiness is not the absence of pain. It's the ability to live honestly in a world that includes pain. Think about desire for a moment. Desire is not an enemy. It's a compass. It points to what matters. But a compass can't be a home. When desire becomes a home, when we live inside the wanting, we turn life into a permanent waiting room. We keep our hearts in storage until the future arrives with the right stamp. Yet the future is a sly magician. It keeps pulling new rabbits from a hat you didn't ask it to wear. Notice how easily the mind builds a staircase out of the word when. When I'm thinner, when I'm richer, when I'm loved the way I imagine love should feel. Each one looks like a step upward. But if you climb long enough, you realize you're circling the same tower. The staircase never ends because the tower is made of comparison, and comparison is a fire that keeps asking for more wood. Comparison is especially modern, isn't it? Not because humans didn't compare before, but because now we compare at the speed of light. We hold our messy Tuesday against someone else's edited highlight reel. We measure our insides by other people's outsides, and the heart, which once looked for joy in the ordinary, now looks for proof in the extraordinary. This is how pleasure becomes a counterfeit of happiness. Pleasure is bright and quick, like a match, beautiful, useful, but short. Happiness is more like warmth in a room. It doesn't explode. It abides. Pleasure says more. Happiness says enough. Pleasure is what you feel when you scratch an itch. Happiness is what you feel when you stop thinking of your skin. As a battlefield dot, so what shifts when we see this? We don't have to exile desire or outlaw pleasure. The sages never asked for that. They asked for clarity. To want without being owned by wanting. To enjoy without clinging. A child can eat cake and smile with a clean mind. An adult eats cake and immediately bargains with guilt. The cake didn't change. The story did. Here's a way to feel it, recall. A moment when you were fully absorbed, maybe talking with someone you love. Maybe building something. Maybe watching rain hit a window with no agenda. In that moment you weren't thinking, I am happy. You were simply there. Happiness rarely announces itself. It's shy. It arrives under the disguise of presence. And that takes us to the next doorway. If happiness isn't something we get after life, maybe it's something that appears when we stop postponing life. Now, if happiness is the warmth that comes from being here, what keeps blowing cold wind through the room, often, it's our relationship with control. This is the odd dance we do with life. We want to be authors of our story, but we also want a guarantee that the plot won't hurt us. We want freedom, but not uncertainty. We want the ocean, but not the waves. And life, patient and a little amused, keeps offering us both in the same breath. There's a reason so many of us feel tired even when nothing bad is happening. We are carrying an invisible job title, manager of reality. We wake up and start arranging the day like furniture, trying to place every meeting, every emotion, every person, every outcome exactly where it should go. But reality is not a living room. It's weather. You can prepare for it, dress for it, read its patterns, even learn to love its moods, but you cannot command the sky. Imagine you're in a small sailboat. Control is the rudder, surrender is the wind. If you worship control, you row in circles, exhausted, resentful that the sea isn't cooperating. If you worship surrender, you drift wherever the wind shoves you, calling passivity peace. Happiness lives in the marriage of the two hands, steering where you can, yielding where you must, rudder and wind, participation and acceptance. The middle path is not lukewarm. It's alive. This is why the sages spoke of letting go not as giving up, but as releasing the chokehold we keep on life. Letting go is opening the fist so the water can rest there. It is saying, I will act with care, and I will stop, demanding that the universe sign my contract in advance. Because the demand for certainty is the oldest thief of joy. It steals not only outcomes, it steals today. You can see this in small moments. A conversation where you're not listening, because you're planning how to be seen. A vacation where you're not resting, because you're curating proof that you rested. A relationship where you're not loving, because you're measuring the risk. Control, in these moments, wears the mask of responsibility. But under the mask is fear, fear that what is will not be enough. Fear that what comes might break. Yet something tender happens when control softens. You start to notice that life is not a test you pass or fail. It's a river you learn. Sometimes the river is calm and you paddle with delight. Sometimes it floods and you cling to a branch. But always, it is moving, and you are part of its movement. When you stop fighting the current as if it were a personal insult, you discover a surprising energy, not the brittle energy of tension, but the quiet strength of cooperation. So happiness is not the victory of the self over the world. It is the self learning to dance with the world, feet on the ground, heart unarmored, mind willing to be surprised. And once you begin to dance with the world instead of wrestle it, a strange thing happens to the walls of the self. They grow more transparent. You start to see that much of your unhappiness was not caused by life being cruel, but by the way you were standing alone in the middle of it, clutching your identity like a fragile vase. We are taught, subtly and constantly, to become a fortress, build a brand, protect your image, win the argument, stay ahead, don't need too much, don't feel too much. But fortresses are cold places to live. Their purpose is survival, not music. And when survival becomes the main project of the heart, happiness turns into a rumor from another country. This is why love sits so close to the center of happiness, not love as a romantic fireworks show, but love as belonging, as the loosening of separation, as the quiet recognition that you don't have to carry the universe on your back alone. Let me tell you another small story, almost embarrassingly ordinary. I once watched an elderly woman at a street stall struggle to lift a bag of rice onto her bicycle. A young man nearby, headphones on, phone in hand, noticed and stepped over without a word. He lifted the bag, tied it down, and gave her a little nod. She smiled, not a dramatic smile, just a human one. The young man walked away, still listening to his music, but something changed in the air. The world felt a shade brighter, not because the rice was now lighter, but because for a moment, two lives stopped being separate lanes and became a shared road. Happiness is braided into these moments. It is not always a private feeling. It is often a relational field. We think joy is something we manufacture inside ourselves, like a factory. But the heart is more like a garden. It blooms in good soil. And one of the richest soils is connection. Why does giving feel good when it's real? Why does kindness soften the body? Because when you give, you step out of the cramped apartment of me and into the wide open park of us. The self that only protects itself becomes a small thing, always anxious, always measuring. The self that participates in love becomes spacious. It is no longer trying to be a perfect island. It becomes coastline. Even solitude, when it nourishes rather than isolates, is another form of belonging to breath, to sky, to the quiet witness inside you. But when loneliness takes over, it is often because we have mistaken independence for disconnection. We thought we were becoming strong. We were becoming sealed. So perhaps another key to happiness is this: let your life touch other lives. Let yourself be moved. Let yourself matter to someone, and let them matter to you. Not as a transaction, not as a performance, but as the simple truth that you were never meant to be a fortress. You were meant to be a fire. Warmth is what fires do. If love widens the walls of the self, time is the quiet teacher that shows us where happiness actually lives. Because so much suffering is a war with time, we drag yesterday like a heavy suitcase, and we chase tomorrow like a mirage on the horizon. Meanwhile, today sits on the curb, unnoticed, tapping its foot. Fear is the fuel of this time warp. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing what we have. Fear that the people we love will leave, or change, or die. Fear that our bodies will betray us. Fear that our choices were wrong. Fear is not just an emotion. It's a lens. Through it, the present looks like a fragile bridge between two disasters, the one that already happened, and the one that might happen next. And look how clever fear is. It pretends to protect us. It says, stay alert, replay the past so you don't repeat it, forecast the future so you're not surprised. Reasonable suggestions on paper. But fear forgets a crucial detail. You cannot rehearse your way into peace. Rehearsal makes the mind stronger at rehearsing. That's all. What if happiness is less a mood and more a practice of attention? The sages used different words: mindfulness, gratitude, right seeing, but they were pointing to the same doorway. The moment you return to what is actually happening, not what your mind is arguing about. Have you ever noticed how breath works? It never lives in yesterday or tomorrow. It arrives, leaves, arrives, leaves. It is a loyal friend that refuses to abandon the present. When you follow breath not as a technique, just as a reality, you start to feel the truth whispered by every living thing. Life is only ever occurring now. This doesn't mean the past is worthless or the future irrelevant. It means the past is a teacher, not a landlord. The future is a direction, not a destination you can live inside today. Planning is wise. Dwelling is expensive. Regret can guide you. Rumination chains you. Hope can lift you. Postponement hollows you. There is a gentle rebellion here, a kind of holy refusal to keep sacrificing your only real hour to imaginary ones. To say, yes, I remember. Yes, I prepare. And still, I will not abandon this moment. You can wash dishes like a person trying to finish a chore, or like a person meeting warm water. Soap, sound, and the silent dignity of caring for your own life. Same dishes, different universe. And gratitude, real gratitude, is not forced optimism. It's simply noticing what's already holding you. The floor under your feet, the fact that you're here to listen, the small mercies you've been too busy to see. Gratitude is the mind remembering that it is not starving in a world of food. So happiness begins to look like a way of inhabiting time. Not sprinting ahead, not collapsing behind, but sitting down right where you are and realizing this is the seat of your life. And now, as all these threads come together, desire clarified, control softened, love widened, attention returned, you can feel the shape of the key we've been circling. It is not a secret locked in a mountain temple. It is a simple, difficult, liberating truth. Happiness is not a place you arrive at when life finally behaves. It is the way you relate to life as it is, the dance, not the trophy. Life will always hold opposites in the same palm. Joy and grief, gain and loss, beginning and ending. You cannot edit the human experience down to one color without dimming it. The sages didn't become serene by escaping the world. They became serene by seeing the world clearly and loving it. Anyway, so what does that mean for you on an ordinary Tuesday, in a body that worries, in a world that changes faster than your plans? It means you can want things without staking your worth on them. You can steer where you can, and stop insulting the wind. You can let people in, not because it guarantees safety, but because it makes life real. You can show up for the present, not perfectly, not forever, just more often than you used to. Happiness, then, is less like a finish line and more like a compass. It doesn't say, here is a paradise you must reach. It says, here is the direction of alignment, toward presence, toward openness, toward meaning, toward love. Some days you'll follow it well. Some days you'll get lost. Getting lost is not failure. It's just the moment before you remember again. Here are a few quiet questions you might carry with you, not to answer once, but to live with. What am I chasing that keeps me from noticing what's already here? Where am I gripping life so tightly that I can't feel it breathe? Who or what am I keeping outside my walls that my heart secretly longs to meet? What moment today am I postponing my life for? And if there's one more paradox to hold, let it be this. Happiness grows when you stop making it your only God. When you live for what feels true, what feels kind, what feels awake. Happiness often follows the way your shadow follows you in sunlight, quietly, without coercion. So take a breath right now. Feel how it enters without permission, leaves without drama. Notice the space around you. Notice the pulse in your hands. The small miracle of being a consciousness in a spinning world. Nothing needs to be added for this moment to exist. It already does. You don't have to solve your whole life tonight. You don't have to be free of fear to live bravely. You don't have to be perfectly calm to be at peace. Start where you are. Open the hand. Let the water rest there. And as you go back into your days, may you remember, happiness is not the elimination of paradox. It is learning to live inside it like a home, windows open, fire lit, heart at ease in the weather of being alive.